Okay, I had some really fun questions, DMs from the last video talking about the different stages for growth, specifically about stage number 3 and founders asking questions about how they can get organized. This is like one of my favorite things in the world to talk about and help founders with. And so what we're gonna do today is just a really quick version of what a playbook for growth looks like for that get organized stage. And then seriously, just DM me if you want specific insights or questions or thoughts or whatever. I'm really happy to talk with you and help. Okay, so today, playbook for getting organized. The first thing we have to do, and your first priority as a founder when you try to get organized, shifts from, again, product development and launching the venture is the number one thing. Can you build a product that is growing the business on its own just because of how good it is? That is your hyper-focus goal inside of launching the venture. Hyper-focus goal number 1 inside of getting organized is actually what we're gonna say called cohesion. One of my favorites, Pat Lencioni, has this quote that says, I'll just read it. If you could get all the people in an organization rowing in the same direction, you could dominate any industry in any market against any competition at any time. So things inside of stage number 1, cohesion, are things like building a really high trust executive team that fights about things really well. They have really good debate and conflict, and they're making really good decisions and holding each other accountable, things like that. And so things inside of this stage are also like in using EOS language, if you're familiar with that. It's another thing I love, using language like visionary and integrator are humming. And so as a founder, often you end up playing this role of visionary. Not always, but if you're gonna, how do you shift to being the best visionary possible and then ultimately hire and implement a lot of trust with an integrator? And is that relationship humming? That often is one of the main things that holds businesses back from getting organized. Cohesion, and this is things like alignment and the most important questions that the team needs answered in order to be successful. So it's things like alignment on values, it's things like alignment on priorities, and it's things like alignment on how are we gonna define success and what really matters around here right now. It's things like alignment on really why this company exists versus other companies and how that makes it unique and different so that people can, again, using that Pat quote, row their boat in an aligned direction as the biggest competitive advantage in any market. So that's goal number 1, priority number 1 for you as a founder for the playbook for getting organized, is building a cohesive team. Priority number 2 is valuing and helping your company value consistency. In the stage before this one, where we're trying to launch the venture, consistency really isn't that important because you don't even know if it's working yet. And so you shouldn't value as highly being really consistent around the ways in which you're doing things, because first you need to figure out, is that the right things to do? And is it helping drive success? It's only when stuff starts to really stick against the wall that you want to start to systematize what sticks. This is things like a ton of consistency around your funnel. So are you putting out really good content that's growing awareness? Are you doing the things that you need to be able to increase consideration with people and conversion? Are you doing the things that you need to retain your customers? So a lot on the marketing sales side, is your funnel anemic in any area? Or are you really consistent with running the tactics and plays that help your funnel continue to grow quarter over quarter? This is things like really consistent accountability. So clarity really comes less from a founder getting up with a mic in his hand or in front of a meeting and saying, here's what matters most and here's why we exist. And it really comes a lot more from systems for accountability, where people individually and as a team are held accountable to, are we implementing the things that we decide? Are we implementing and having good meetings? Are we ultimately hitting the KPIs that we set? If we're not, we're gonna talk consistently about why we're not, and helping people get really consistent and holding people accountable for doing the things that are needed day in and day out to help the business be successful. And really huge inside of consistency is really consistent, really good meetings. Meetings becomes like the playground for founders and companies to operate when they're in this stage of getting organized. And oftentimes meetings are like the worst part of their business. So if there's one place that we usually start when we're working with businesses, after we get clarity on what the business is and their playbook for growth, all that stuff, is really digging into meetings and making sure that they're talking about the right things in the right ways, and that they're making really good, clear decisions that are getting communicated, implemented, and that people are getting held accountable to. So that's a huge part of consistency. Number 2 component for playbook for getting organized is consistency. And then the third part of your playbook, the third priority for you as a founder, if you're trying to organize your business, is making things really compelling. And I think this breaks down to a few different, this is things like not only leading effectively and creating clarity for people, but working on making your leadership and other people's leadership really compelling. So people aren't forced to follow you, but they want to follow you. And oftentimes that looks very different than founders think it does. It's not saying more things, it's usually asking better questions. It's taking more time to listen. It's being more consistent and available with people, but it also is saying things like, here's why this exists. We're not going to go do this thing that seems really good because this isn't what this company is about. And the more that you do that, you really build a compelling culture around your leadership and a compelling culture inside your organization. And that is essential for getting organized because that accelerates, becomes fuel on the fire for everything that the company does. So compelling in your leadership, but then also externally, compelling in the words that you're using to market and sell your product or your business, compelling in the creative that you're using to market and sell your business. So a lot of times what happens after you've launched the venture and you're starting to get success is you need to build an identity around the different products that you have. You need to establish equity into the brand that you have so that the success isn't based on your charisma as a founder or based on you're early to the market with a product and now you're starting to probably get competition for that product. So that's less of a value proposition for why people would buy yours over someone else. You have to build a brand and an identity around what helps the business be successful. So number 3 priority as a founder is ultimately making things compelling. So that your goals are number 1, making sure that the team is cohesive. Nothing matters if the team's not cohesive. You can't be successful. Number 2 is making sure that you're valuing consistency and helping people be consistent. And then number 3 is making sure that ultimately everything that you're doing, internal and external, is actually increasing in how compelling it is. The last thing I want to say about this playbook for getting organized is oftentimes it's not that stuff that is the reason that people don't get organized. Oftentimes it's a really hard shift for founders to go through. I've had this experience multiple times now as a founder where you start something and you build it and it kind of is your identity in a lot of ways and you associate yourself with it and you like doing a lot of the work that's associated with launching the venture. You like coming up with new ideas. You like throwing new things against the wall. You have a mind and a mindset and the ability to see new opportunities in a way that not everyone does that legitimately might be game-changing opportunities for you or the business or for the area that you operate in. And it's really hard to go through the emotional mental shift to go from that is my job number 1 is new idea person and really good at throwing things against the wall, really good at rallying people, almost like task force style around what we're gonna do to make this thing happen, really good at pitching the thing so that people buy in based on the charisma of the founder. A lot of times those things come to play and that's how you see yourself. And part of getting organized, and often the thing that holds it back, is you have to reimagine your role as the founder. If you want this thing to grow and progress, your business to get out of the house, get a job, mature, and become what I think you know it can be, really start reaching its unique potential, you have to see your role different. And it's really scary because you have to stop doing things that you like doing sometimes. It's really scary because you have to hand off things that you really care about and watch them not get done as well as you would do them. It's really scary because the business itself starts to take kind of an identity that's separate from you because other people start to put their fingerprints on it. And that's a really hard and really emotional thing that I don't think we talk about enough that founders have to go through, and it takes time and it's a process. And so the other thing I want to say to you, if you're a founder and you know that the venture you've launched, you have a product that's working, you have a program that's working, whatever it is, and you know the next thing is to organize and scale it, really committing and deciding and even getting some coaching and counseling around how you shift your mentality, how you shift your definition of success away from launching this really cool business and really into empowering others and inviting other people to put their fingerprint on the business. And ultimately your goal is to get other people, other systems, other sources of energy than you as the founder to contribute as close to 100% of their unique potential every day as possible so that your business can grow not based off of the time and energy and talent of you as the founder, but based on other people's time and energy and talents so that the thing can actually scale and organize. And the byproduct of that is you have a business that's a lot more successful. You can actually redo your role after things get organized into putting yourself back into your sweet spot in a lot of ways as a visionary with an integrator and executive team humming. And then ultimately you won't wake up every day knowing that the business is gonna die or live based on the contribution that you make. And that is so stressful as a founder of feeling the weight and the pressure that comes with founding something and launching a venture, and it is time, if you can, to get the business organized so that that is not your experience waking up for work every day, but you can wake up knowing that this thing is going to succeed and seeing contribution happen all around you from other people that's helping the business succeed. That doesn't have anything to do with what you're waking up and contributing yourself that day. And that is a gift that you give yourself when you buy in and say yes to this stage of getting organized. I'll say it again, founding and scaling and organizing a business is really hard and also simultaneously really fun. And so I hope tips like these are helpful.